Upon arriving at the location of the dungeon gate, someone questioned Hunter Lee Yongwon about the situation. Lee Yongwon, the S-rank hunter and the guild master of the Phoenix Guild, recognized Section Chief Kim and the rookie Han Hari. Kim seethed with anger, realizing that Lee Yongwon had deliberately allowed the dungeon break to happen as retaliation for their rejected request. The Phoenix Guild had been persistently seeking tax exemption for the profits obtained from gates. They had already gained significant benefits from the byproducts such as magic crystals and monster materials, but they desired exemption from the 1 trillion tax. Frustrated, Kim understood that the guild's actions were a direct response to their request being turned down. But Hari was determined and urged Hunter Lee Yongwon to close the gate immediately. She emphasized that leaving it open for even 1 week would have dire consequences. However, Lee Yongwon nonchalantly acknowledged the urgency but claimed that his guild members were gravely injured, making it difficult to launch a raid in their current state. He said that they can try to do it by tomorrow but expressed uncertainty about what would happen by that time. Hari was enraged and shouted at Lee Yongwon, questioning his lack of patriotism. Kim tried to intervene, but Hari continued, highlighting the potential devastation if the Hanam Plains became infected. Lee Yongwon, with an evil smirk, dismissed her concerns, stating that he didn't know what she was talking about and mocked her for being childish. He reminded Hari that he had mentioned this in the previous year's draft. Hari realized at that moment that in this world, justice equated to money and power. Just as tensions escalated between Hari, Kim, and Lee Yongwon, Leon intervened, expressing his disdain for Lee Yongwon's shallow and old-fashioned mindset. Hari turned back in surprise, addressing him as Leon, Your Majesty. However, Leon quickly reprimanded her, instructing her to refer to him by his title alone. Lee Yongwon was taken aback by Leon's words and inquired about his identity, noting his Western appearance. However, Leon silenced him, expressing his anger and questioning how dare a person as lowly as he speak. Lee Yongwon, one of the 20 S-rank hunters in the world and the guild master of a top 10 guild, was shocked and infuriated by Leon's words, questioning how he could dare to call him lowly. In a display of his power, Lee Yongwon began gathering fire in his hand, ready to attack. However, Hari pleaded for him to stop, revealing that Leon was a survivor. This revelation surprised Lee Yongwon, and his attitude swiftly changed as he humbly introduced himself as Lee Yongwon from the Phoenix Guild. He speculated that Leon may have come from the gray-colored guild. But before Lee Yongwon could continue, Leon interrupted him, stating that a king does not repeat himself. He then turned to Kim and Hari, urging them to provide a concise summary of the problem, as he was unfamiliar with the details of the gate. Both Hari and Kim couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope, their faces lighting up with smiles, wondering if Leon was going to offer his assistance. Hari explained to Leon that the problem was a dungeon break, which resulted in the release of a large amount of demonic energy that infected the land. As a result, crops couldn't grow on the infected land. The Hanam Plains, being an essential granary, made the situation critical. Hari emphasized the need to purify the infection. Leon inquired about the solution to the problem, and Hari responded that they needed to clear the dungeon and eliminate it entirely. Leon understood the nature of the problem, an infected land and the growth of the gate. He decided to take action personally, but he noted that as a foreign king, he couldn't engage in military activities in another nation's territory without permission. He insisted on receiving approval from the nation's king before proceeding. Hari mentioned that it wasn't necessary, but Leon reminded her that there were legitimate processes and rules to follow. He questioned her commitment to being an honorable knight if she didn't abide by the laws of her own nation. Meanwhile, Lee Yongwon observed Leon in shock, realizing that Leon's approach was even more audacious than his own. Eventually, they decided to seek permission from the president. The president, who was aboard a plane, received a call regarding the urgent matter. Hari approached Leon with a doll in her hand and addressed him as Your Majesty. She reported that she had made the preparations as instructed, but she questioned how they were planning to use the doll. Leon responded, stating that they needed to purify the infected land using the straw doll. The conditions given by Leon were that he needed a straw doll, and it had to be made by a woman who had given birth. Leon looked at a group of women and asked if they were the wives who made the dolls. Hari responded in confirmation. Leon expressed his approval and requested to see the dolls that were made. Unexpectedly, a doll-making competition began in the middle of the plains. Leon examined one of the dolls with a serious expression and then looked at the woman who had made it. He deemed it impossible and proceeded to destroy the doll, criticizing it as a metaphysical eccentric body. The result was a failure. Leon was filled with frustration as he destroyed yet another door and expressed his disappointment with the results. Each attempt with the dolls ended in failure as he threw them away one by one. He destroyed Hari's doll and berated her for not fulfilling the condition of having given birth. However, among the participants, the 89th woman, an old married woman, caught Leon's attention. As he looked at her doll, he exclaimed in amazement, recognizing its quality. He asked her how many children she had given birth to, and she proudly replied, 12. Leon praised her as a living patriot, acknowledging the significance of her role in bringing life into the world. He kissed her hand and expressed his regret for not being able to personally reward her with a medal and gift due to the situation at hand. The old grandma responded with a joyful laugh, seemingly content with the recognition she received. Leon then walked towards the fields and placed the doll on a wooden table surrounded by candles. He declared that the conditions had been met. He then took out an antique cup from his inventory. As he placed the cup on the wooden table, he called out to the mother of this abundant land. Leon then offered the doll of harvest and asked for it to be received. To everyone's surprise, as he placed the empty cup on the table, it started to fill up with water on its own. The water overflowed from the glass and began to float in mid-air. The scene was like the rising sun casting red light on the clouds, signaling the start of a new day. However, the sun rising today would be a special start to this world. The floating water droplets entered the doll, causing astonishment among the onlookers. Suddenly, the doll stood on its own. Then, a voice spoke, addressing Leon as Lionheart, and he bowed respectfully and greeted the Mother Earth, Demera, the god of life and abundance. Demera acknowledged Leon's greeting and said that it had been a while since their last encounter. That was the day divinity descended upon this land. Leon greeted the great Earth Mother, Demera, the divine being governing life and fertility. Demera sensed that this land was also being invaded by evil, and had been contaminated as a result. Leon acknowledged her words and added that there was no divinity here, so he was afraid that lowly and vulgar swine would sully her eyes. Demera mentioned that ignorance and greed are inherent characteristics of mortals that cannot always be judged as sins. She inquired about Leon's plans in response to the situation. After contemplating for a moment, Leon stated that it was not difficult for him to blend in among swordsmen, but he believed that the authority of a conqueror was divine. He intended to establish a balance between duty and authority, teaching the ignorant and guiding them toward the right path. His goal was to pave the way for a new pantheon to arise on the earth. Demera sensed Leon's determination and asked if he had a favor to ask of her, as she and her divine counterparts were always ready to assist. In response, Leon expressed his concern for the suffering of the free citizens of the earth due to the presence of evil energy. He acknowledged that it might not align with Demera's desires, but he requested her to heal and purify the land, seeking her assistance in bringing relief to the afflicted. Demera, in response to Leon's request, affirmed that he was her temple's head and their champion. She declared her intention to spread her divinity and substitute the thirsty earth with her flesh so that everything that walked on this earth would become his ally. As Demera used her divinity on the land, it began to glow with a golden light, captivating the attention of everyone present. Leon turned back to them and confidently proclaimed that they should watch and learn. He criticized their ignorance and inability to comprehend the blessings of divinity. He emphasized the importance of giving birth and prospering as the righteous duty of all living beings. The fertile earth was proof of an eternal promise. In contrast to the hopeful atmosphere, Li Yongwen expressed frustration and tried to warn the others about the potential danger of crops grown using magic. He claimed that they could be poisonous. However, Leon dismissed his concerns, considering them to be the words of an ignorant fool. Leon asserted that the crops were blessed with divinity, and admonished Li Yongwen for judging them as poisonous. Leon warned him not to tarnish the goddess with his disrespectful words. As Li Yongwen became increasingly frustrated by the turn of events, he was determined not to let his plans be ruined by Leon. He thought of exposing what he believed were Leon's blatant lies. He said that they still needed to prove if the crop was safe, for the sake of the people who would consume the crops. Li Yongwen requested cooperation and pointed to one of his teammates, offering him as an appraiser. The appointed appraiser stepped forward and began examining the crops. However, his initial shock and subsequent sweating indicated that something unexpected had been revealed. The appraiser exclaimed in astonishment as he read out the crop's information. It was revealed to be blessed rice, a rare ranked crop blessed by the divinity of Demera, the goddess of life and fertility. The appraiser further disclosed that consuming this rice had the potential to cure Tier 3 diseases and even cancer. Hari and the others were amazed by this revelation, and the appraiser confirmed that it was indeed true. Kim immediately requested someone to bring a pot from the chief's house to prepare and cook the rice. After the blessed rice was cooked, Kim took a bite and was amazed by the effects. A system notification appeared, indicating that consuming the rice made from the blessed rice plant would increase stamina recovery rate by 100 per minute, and mana recovery rate by 50 per minute for a total of 8 hours. Kim realized that this rice was essentially a powerful enhancer, comparable to a reinforcer item worth 3,000,000 per bottle. Hari returned excitedly and urgently called out to Kim, sharing that she had discovered something significant. Kim advised her to finish chewing before speaking. Once Hari swallowed her food, she revealed that she had eaten a bug out of curiosity and unexpectedly received a buff. Everyone was shocked by this revelation and looked at Hari in disbelief. Kim pondered the implications of the blessings being present all over the land and realized that if all living beings were also blessed, it would explain the buff Hari had received. Kim then issued an order to gather as many bugs as possible, declaring that they would enter the gate with full buffs. The motivation of the Hunter Association's raiding team soared upon hearing this news, and they started catching bugs around the fields. Demira called out to Leon, addressing him as a child. Leon respectfully acknowledged her call. Demira indicated that she had fulfilled her purpose in this place and expressed her intention to depart. Leon humbly bowed and expressed his gratitude, assuring Demira that he would never forget the divine love she had bestowed upon them. Demira then imparted one final lecture, advising Leon to feed himself. The doll, which had been standing, descended back onto the wooden board. Hari approached Leon with curiosity and asked about the situation. Leon anticipated her question and replied, stating that it was divine power at work. Leon then inquired whether there was no god in their world, to which Hari expressed uncertainty. Leon emphasized that a proper life and world were built with divine power, urging the people of Earth to remember this. Finally, Leon declared that now that the soldiers were replenished, they would proceed to the gate, ready for the upcoming mission. Li Yongwen's teammate expressed concern about their plan, questioning whether it would be successful. Fueled by anger and frustration, Li Yongwen cursed Leon, who had disrupted their plans, and wondered where he had come from. If it weren't for Leon, the government wouldn't have had a choice but to listen to their request. He wished for Leon's death inside the gate. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Li Yongwen's mind, causing him to laugh cunningly. When his teammate tried to inquire further, Li Yongwen reassured him that there was no need to worry and mentioned that the gate they were about to enter had already been partially raided. His teammate recalled the difficulties they faced in the middle of the gate, but before they could elaborate, they realized something alarming. Li Yongwen, with an evil grin, revealed that there was only one rank hunter, Han Hari, among them. He speculated that Leon was likely a blessing-type buffer with limited combat skills, believing that he would be ineffective in combat, which implied that their mission would fail, as there was a monster inside the gate that could not be defeated using ordinary means. A system notification appeared, warning about the beginning of the dungeon break and announcing the imminent danger of death for all living beings inside the gate. As they ventured into the dungeon, with Kim leading the way, Leon expressed his curiosity and asked if most of the gates would close upon completing the quest or defeating the boss. He seemed intrigued by the prospect of a duel with the boss and stated his preference for such encounters. Hari, however, was unable to convey to him that they usually gang up on them. While exploring further, Leon noticed a lifeless skeleton and remarked on the unexpected abundance of monsters in the dungeon. He wondered aloud if there were more creatures than he had anticipated. Hari explained that it was a characteristic of this particular dungeon. Usually the number of monsters diminished as they were defeated, but for certain types like skeletons, zombies, and occasionally demons, as long as the boss monster remained alive, they would endlessly respawn. Leon found this concept interesting, realizing that their mission would only conclude upon defeating the boss. Satisfied with the information, he concluded that they were in one of those boss dungeons. Hari concurred, suspecting that it might be controlled by a necromancer who commanded the skeletons. Before Hari could finish speaking, a sudden system notification interrupted them, alerting them that dungeon break has begun. The notification conveyed that death had been sentenced to all living beings within the gate and imposed a time limit. The commander knight, Dullahan, was approaching with his troops, and their task was to defeat him. They were given a time of 3 hours. The warning instilled pressure and urgency in all of them. Kim was filled with anger and lashed out at Li Yongwen, expressing his frustration at not being informed about such a situation beforehand. Soon the boss of the dungeon, Dullahan, sat atop his horse, his detached head held in one of its hands. A vast army of skeletons stood before them. The system notification reiterated the objective: defeat the commander knight, Dullahan, within the given time limit of 2 hours and 58 minutes. Observing the overwhelming horde of skeletons, one of them exclaimed at their sheer numbers. Another teammate inquired whether they should distribute potions. Kim in response instructed them to focus on providing potions to the upper-ranked members. Kim then turned to Mashik and asked about the count of archers and mages. Mashik reported that there were currently 30 archers and 2 mages present. Kim gave orders, directing those with sniping skills to eliminate the long-ranged enemies first, while individuals with shields were to prevent the skeletons from advancing. As the skeletons closed in on them, Kim shouted words of encouragement, wishing them luck. A skeleton launched an attack on Kim with a sword, but he skillfully blocked it using his shield. But he was surprised by the strength of the skeletons. Kim mused that the orange gates indeed presented a different challenge. Nonetheless, as a B-rank tank, he believed they were still manageable for him. Kim retaliated, pushing the skeleton back with his shield and striking it with his hammer. Kim then noticed some skeletons casting spells and realized that even the normal skeletons had advanced spells. Determined to divert their attention, he shouted and attracted their focus toward himself. The skeletons then concentrated their attacks on Kim. Despite enduring their assaults, Kim reassured his worried teammate that he was fine, dismissing the injuries as mere stings. He reminded them of the expensive gear he possessed, hinting at its protective capabilities. Just then Dullahan stood in front of Kim, mounted on his horse. Kim stared at the imposing figure. Without warning, Dullahan swung his greatsword at Kim, who managed to block the attack with his shield but was forcefully propelled backward, crashing into a wall that left a hole upon impact. Coughing, Kim struggled to recover. Witnessing this, Hari exclaimed in concern. One of their teammates suggested calling for the reserve forces to assist. Hari realized that this was precisely what the reserve forces were meant for and concluded that they needed to help their comrades immediately. While other members attempted to stall Dullahan, Kim expressed astonishment at the rapidity with which Dullahan wielded the greatsword. He urged everyone to stop Dullahan's advances. Hari turned her attention to Leon, contemplating his abilities as the king of the Lion Heart who had vanquished a great demon. Determined, she called out for his assistance, addressing him as my lord. Leon looked at her for a moment before responding, stating that a king should never involve himself in a small battle. He advised Hari to seek ways to build her own honor, expressing his disbelief that she would try to force him to confront the skeletal foes. He further explained that such actions would be disrespectful to the goddess and declared his unwillingness to witness any more of the situation. Hari was taken aback by Leon's words and thought, what was he even saying? Her teammates sought guidance from Hari on what they should do. With determination, Hari realized that she couldn't afford to waste time. Recognizing Leon's lack of interest in anything other than Dullahan, she decided they needed to focus on stopping Dullahan first. With determination, Hari instructed everyone to support Section Chief Kim and sprinted toward Dullahan, who stood amidst a swarm of skeletons. Using one of the skeletons as a stepping stone, she launched herself toward Dullahan, swinging her sword at him. However, to her surprise, Dullahan effortlessly blocked her attack. Undeterred, Hari acknowledged the need to separate Dullahan from the crowd of skeletons. Suddenly, Hari noticed Dullahan's detached head near her. She couldn't believe her eyes as she realized that Dullahan had thrown his head to obstruct her view. Perplexed by this unconventional fighting style, Hari found herself momentarily disoriented. Taking advantage of the distraction, Dullahan struck Hari with a punch. Although she managed to block the attack with her sword, the impact sent her flying a considerable distance. Despite the setback, Hari was relieved that she had successfully separated Dullahan from the other skeletons. Dullahan swiftly closed the distance and swung his greatsword at Hari, but she reacted quickly, evading the attack and remarking that the range of her skills was too large. Her subsequent strike landed on Dullahan, engulfing him and the surrounding skeletons in flames. Hari realized that her attack had inflicted significant damage. Hari then launched another attack. However, Dullahan retaliated and blocked Hari's next sword strike. Hari was surprised that Dullahan had managed to block it with the blunt side of his blade. As Dullahan prepared to attack again, Hari, unable to find an escape route, closed her eyes in fear, aware that she had no way to avoid the imminent danger. Just then a loud voice reverberated across the field, and an air of astonishment filled the atmosphere. Following the voice, a distinct sound of clapping resonated, drawing everyone's attention to Leon. Addressing Dullahan, Leon expressed his admiration, praising his exquisite sword skills despite only using one hand. Leon speculated that Dullahan must have been a noble knight in his previous life and offered his apologies for mistaking him as a mere undead. With confidence and authority, Leon declared that he, the king of the Lion Heart, would grant Dullahan the right to challenge him. He He suggested ending the fight without further casualties by engaging in a noble duel between two knights. Hari, Kim, and even the skeletons themselves stared at Leon with confusion, unable to comprehend his audacious move. They all shared the same thought. Could Leon really have challenged the boss to a duel? It seemed improbable. For a brief moment, Dullahan remained motionless, as if contemplating the proposition. Then, with a decisive movement, Dullahan inclined his head forward, indicating acceptance of the duel. Leon's bold strategy had succeeded, and the unexpected turn of events left everyone astonished. Standing near Dullahan, Leon addressed him as a knight of honor, suggesting that he could lower his neck. Leon speculated that Dullahan was skilled in wielding two swords, implying that a one-handed weapon alone wouldn't provide a proper battle. Displaying his own prowess, Leon retrieved a sword from his storage space. Hari hesitantly addressed Leon as Your Majesty. Leon responded, inquiring about the matter. With concern in her voice, Hari explained that the Dullahan wouldn't be defeated unless it was beheaded. Leon, however, dismissed the significance, stating that it didn't matter. Hari's face turned colorless as she realized the dilemma. How would Leon win against the Dullahan without beheading it? Nevertheless, Leon asserted his stance, emphasizing that the outcome would be decided by the knight's honor. He presented himself as the first knight of the goddess of light and justice, the Archduke of Dragonia, and the lion-hearted king of Lionheart. He officially sanctioned the honorable knight for the challenge. Without any formalities, the Dullahan launched an attack on Leon, swinging his heavy greatsword with force. Yet, to everyone's amazement, Leon effortlessly blocked the powerful swing with his sword, maintaining his position steadfastly. With a swift motion, Leon redirected his sword, knocking Dullahan's greatsword aside. Fixing his gaze upon Dullahan, Leon uttered a single word that held weight and determination. Once. The Dullahan then leaped back and swung his greatsword in a wide arc, leaving the onlookers astounded. Hari's mind raced with worry, realizing the magnitude of such an attack. She couldn't help but shout in concern. However, to everyone's surprise, Leon remained composed and calmly remarked that the Dullahan's steps were too light. In an incredible display of skill, Leon somehow managed to avoid the Dullahan's attack, evading harm while maintaining his position. The observers, including Kim and the others, were left in awe, struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Their astonishment was evident in their reactions and exclamations. Amidst it all, Hari, being the keenest observer, truly understood the intricacies of the battle. Hari's thoughts raced as she recognized Leon's technique. She realized that he had adjusted the weight balance by swiftly attaching a sword guard at the moment the attack made contact with his blade. Additionally, he executed a cross-cut, a move that few would dare to attempt. Extending his sword toward the Dullahan, Leon's voice resounded with determination as he uttered a single word, twice. Leon then instructed the Dullahan to get back into position. It had been quite some time since Dullahan had come across a knight who treated him with the respect of a fellow knight and requested a proper duel. Despite the suggestion to dismount from his horse appearing to be a ploy to escape a difficult situation, Dullahan saw through it. He couldn't help but admire the knight before him, noting the straight posture and the seasoned look of a veteran who had weathered countless battles. The knight's eyes gleamed with determination and pursuit of honor and eminence. With resolve in his voice, Leon declared that he will try to take that sword attack. As the Dullahan launched another assault, Leon skillfully blocked the attack, effortlessly rebounding the force of the greatsword. Undeterred, Leon spoke once more, his voice filled with unwavering confidence. Thrice. Dullahan, recognizing the pinnacle of an honorable knight in Leon, couldn't help but feel a surge of admiration. Leon in turn asked if the Dullahan would continue the duel. The Dullahan recognized Leon as a king of knights to be revered and challenged. At that moment, the Dullahan didn't want to use his powers of necromancy. He wanted to fight this man countless times as a knight. He wanted to fight properly, the knightly way, without necromancy, solely with his blade against Leon's. Just like how he used to duel against famed knights when he used to wander around the world with honor, which he had forgotten to do. In a surprising turn of events, the Dullahan's greatsword flew out of its hand, landing behind him. Leon then counted 10th. He commended the Dullahan, remarking on the increasing precision of his swordsmanship, and guessed that he may have recalled memories from his past life. The Dullahan growled in response, inwardly acknowledging the return of the glorious days of his past as an honorable knight. Leon remained unfazed and asked the Dullahan if he would like to continue. With a deep growl, the Dullahan signaled his determination, and a skeleton holding the Dullahan's severed head approached. Dullahan picked up its head and knelt before Leon. Holding his head high in his arms, he reflected on the countless massacres and battles fought without honor. The prospect of ending his cursed journey brought him immense joy. He knew there could be no greater redemption. Leon was filled with awe and happiness, acknowledged the Dullahan's remarkable transformation and the restoration of his honor. Placing his hand on Dullahan's head, Leon expressed his intention to pray for him. He offered a prayer, wishing for the god the Dullahan believed in to grant his soul peace. And if he didn't believe in God, then he wished that the goddess to guide him to a peaceful rest. With a gentle smile, Leon expressed his desire to meet the Dullahan, a great night, someday at the banquet hall of the gods. He invoked a radiant light by saying, "Let there be light," that enveloped the entire scene. Dullahan's body gradually started to dissipate, and he wished for glory to be bestowed upon Leon Dragonia Lionheart. In this way, the Dullahan finally found peace and was released from his tormented existence. As time passed, Hari and Kim found themselves outside the dungeon, surrounded by busy members of the association. They reflected on the events that had transpired, still in awe of Leon's ability to fulfill his promise and bring an end to the Dullahan through an honorable duel. Curiosity lingered regarding the radiant light that had enveloped the area after the battle. Kim speculated that it might have been the divine power, as that explains why the undead had disappeared thereafter. Hari wondered why Leon hadn't utilized that power earlier, to which Leon interjected, emphasizing that if he had done that, then the honorable knight would have met his end as a necromancer. He believed that a knight lives for honor, and honor should be earned through actions fueled by willpower. So he believed Dullahan had received what he deserved as a noble knight. Leon then nonchalantly declared his intention to collect the loot, explaining that where there's a battle, there's a treasure to be claimed. Hari, Kim, and Leon examined the loot, marveling at the item's power and value. Among the loot were the Dullahan's greatsword and cape, which caught their attention. However, when Leon spotted a dark orb among the loot, he immediately expressed disdain for such an item, considering it nothing more than the garbage that causes chaos. Without hesitation, he shattered the dark orb with a single punch, leaving Hari and Kim frozen in surprise. The final results of the dungeon were the Dullahan's cape, Dullahan's greatsword, as well as various mana stones and other items, and the Hanam gate had been successfully cleared.